Desk. We begin with what is slowly shaping up to be a crisis at the Dadaab refugee camp, where locals have been holding protests to demand that refugees in the camp return to their home countries. The locals say they have lost lots of job opportunities to the refugees and their environment has been destroyed by the activities of the refugees. Well, our Hamza Yusuf is in Garissa for us. Will be joining us later on. But first, let's speak to Jean Bosco Rishatsi, who is the head of operations at the Dadaab refugee camp. He's speaking to our reporter Timothy Otieno. Timothy?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Yesterday, of course, my colleague Hamza Yusuf, who brought the story of the unrest that was taking place in that particular camp, tried to get information from the United Nations refugees officials, but they were unable to. But we have been able to track down the head of operations at the Dadaab refugee camp, who is in Nairobi for a seminar, Mr. Jean Bosco Rishatsi, who now joins us live on KTN News. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking to us. There have been issues at the Dadaab refugee camp. Host communities are protesting, saying that the refugees are taking up their jobs, destroying the environment, and there's a bit of tension. What's, first of all, your initial reactions to what is happening at the camp?
Thank you. Actually, there has been a lot of anxiety as UNHCR is undertaking a downsizing of Dadaab operations. You know, from 463,427 refugees back in 2011, today we have only 238,000, meaning that since 2011, 225,000 refugees have gone home. So obviously, at headquarters, as they are also taking care of several war-driven situations, they have also lowered the financial and material support that they have been extending. But compared to the number of refugees that we have now, it is almost 50% of the refugee caseload that has gone home to Somalia since 2011. So support from donors community is decreasing, and we have to adjust and deliver only against the available resources.
All right. So the decreasing financial support from donors, you do mention that repatriation began earlier on, but we are aware that the repatriation has since slowed down. And despite that, this repatriation is only for those who are willing to go. It's on a voluntary basis. What about those who say we were born in Kenya? Because this is a camp that started all the way back in 1991. There are some people who were actually born in the camp who believe Kenya is home. And for that particular purpose, the host communities say, you know, these guys are not supposed to be here. They're supposed to go back to their country. They're denying us jobs. So solutions, what needs to be done? What is being done in your end to ensure that this issue is resolved amicably?
Let me first tell you that of the 225,000 who went back home, UNHCR has facilitated the return of only 72,000. So there are two types of voluntary repatriation involved. First of all, the spontaneous repatriation that allowed over 163,000 to go back home by their own, and then the 72,000 who went back through the facilitated movement. So refugees are going back home. They do not wait until we avail the logistics. Some are hitting the road by themselves.
Talk to us about the security of those who are still at the camps, because right now tensions are high. They are, of course, concerned about their own well-being. There are women and children in that particular camp. Talk to us about the security measures that you are putting in place to ensure the security of those who are still at the camp at the moment.
Back in 2012, UNHCR has assigned what we call Security Partnership Project with the government, and the government has deployed up to 500 police who are taking care of both humanitarian and host community in Dadaab complex. Right. Obviously, without that SPP, we wouldn't be here talking about the situation in Dadaab. They are playing a great job, especially in the area of security.
Okay, finally and briefly, so will the camp finally and officially be closed, or will those who are willing to remain be left to remain behind?
Actually, we have managed to close one of the 5 camps, namely Cambios. It closed in March this year. And we are also in the process of closing down Ifo2 camp in March next year. In principle, as of April, we will have only the 3 1991 war-driven refugees and the 2 drought-driven refugee camps hosting people who came in 2011. In March, the 2 will be closed.
Jean Bos Krushatsi, thank you so much for speaking to KTN News. That is, of course, the head of operations at the Dadaab refugee camp, of course, shining a light on their opinion in regards to what is happening at that particular camp. Promises that, or rather says that one camp has already been closed down. Remember, the Dadaab refugee camp has 4 main camps, some of them which were started back in 1991 when Somalis were fleeing from civil war, and others that were started back in 2011 when a group was coming into the country because of the adverse effects of the drought that had hit the Horn of Africa at the time. Michelle.